All right, so I'm here with my friend Dylan Krill, and he's here to tell us a little bit about what he's been doing over the course of the pandemic. You were out of work for a little bit because of the restrictions that were put into place. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got into as a result of that?
Yeah, so kind of like everyone, kind of had to just find something to do while you were quarantined and everything, stuck at home. So what I kind of did was I've always kind of had a passion for the NHL draft and things like that, and kind of seeing guys at the World Juniors, and I liked always knowing about those guys before the tournament, just so I knew, and just kind of seeing where they're at as a young kid, and then kind of just seeing how they develop into an NHL superstar or just an NHL player, if anything. So what I started doing during the quarantine was kind of just getting really involved with the NHL draft and watching a lot of video on different prospects and stuff that were highly touted. So I kind of just went player by player and kind of made my own little rankings. They didn't mean much because I hadn't had that many views on these players. It's kind of just a generic list that I kind of wanted to make up. So that was the previous draft that just had taken place. So I was doing all that. That draft took place, and then I kind of wanted to prepare myself for the next draft. So I kind of picked a league because I didn't want to do just everyone. I wanted to specifically pick a league that I could actually zone in on and take my time with and be accurate with my information. So I chose the USHL, which is basically like the OHL in the USA. Um, so I started doing that. I started researching every team that's there, just different players that had played in that league that went on to be successful and stuff like that. Um, so I kind of just started doing that, making lists and things like that. And I use Twitter a lot for just posting the information on guys that I think are going to be available during the draft that I think are highly targeted. So I started doing that, posting a lot of things, trying to get recognized and stuff like that. Um, and I eventually made a watch list, which kind of separated who I like the most in not a specific order, but just kind of placing people who I think are going to be first round, second round, third round, and etc. Available in that draft. So I made that. That got a few hits on Twitter, and after a little bit of time, I had a couple people reach out actually on Twitter, and one of them was the head scout of Eastern Canada for future considerations, and they apparently were talking about me and had noticed some of my things on Twitter, and they wanted to see if I was ready to take on a possible position with them, and they wanted to see a couple of my reports and stuff like that, just to obviously make sure that I'm not just saying things out there and seeing that I was legit and taking it seriously. So yeah, that all went really well and kind of just ended up taking that position as I guess my role right now is a USHL regional video scout
Okay.
for future considerations. So yeah, it's kind of all happened really quick, but I'm kind of just taking it day by day and learning every single thing that I can. So I know it's a learning experience and it's all going to take a lot of time. So just kind of
Where
just
can,
taking it all in.
where can people find the work that you're doing? You post a lot of it on Twitter. What was the name of the website that you're posting it on as well?
Yeah, so right now you can find my stuff at or I guess just NHLentrydraft.com. And then you can go into you can go search under the team section, and then you can click on Scout, and then you'll find my page there, and that
Right.
has all my reports listed right there. So you can find all that there, and then you can also follow me on Twitter where I post a lot of things. That's just at Dylan_Krill.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite part about the whole process is?
Um, I would have to say just seeing these players develop just at such a young age, just seeing the potential they have and seeing what skills they have and how what they need to work on, what are concerns if they have any, and just seeing them succeed. I think that's the best part. It's just finding these players and then kind of talking about all their achievements and stuff like that, and then just to know that they can turn out to be an NHL player is, I
Yeah.
feel like that's pretty cool just to see.
Maybe like finding somebody who's really talented before everybody knows they're talented.
Exactly. That's the thing that I kind of really strive for is just to find that gem almost and then showcase him and highlight him and then eventually imagine he turns into a first round talent. I'd feel pretty good about that if I could say that right now where other people aren't talking about them.
Right. Well, that time will only tell for that, so you'll have to see how things pan out in the future, right, with the players that you're looking at. It is very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is there any aspect of it that you don't like, or a part that like stresses you out a little bit?
I mean, like whenever you watch some player and they don't have their best game or they show a couple things that they need improvement on.
Yeah.
Like you have to write about that. You can't just say, "Oh, they're great. They're a good player," and like they're gonna have their moments, and not even the best players. They're not perfect. So at the end of the day, these kids are like 17, 18 years old. So
Right.
like they're gonna make mistakes. So like I feel like just being hard on them. That's the hardest part. Like I'm not per se being mean to them. I'm just saying I'm concerned about some things. He should work on this, and you just don't zone in on the negatives. You zone in on the positives and what they can work on, and everyone has things to work on. So
Yeah.
I'd say probably something like that.
Well, it's important for players to be able to take that constructive criticism and rather than dwell on it and let it impact them negatively, they can learn from it and build on the skills that they have and become an even better player.
Exactly, and I find it really funny that I'm saying all these things about these players that they need to work on. Meanwhile, they're 10 times the player I am that I ever was. So it's kind of funny. I'm sitting here talking about them, yet they're a lot better than me. So that's the funny part about that.
That's kind of like a big part of sports. Like a lot of fans will say, "Oh, you should have done this, you should have done that," but we couldn't even dream of doing the things that these athletes make look so easy. But in reality, they're achieving extremely difficult physical feats.
100%, man. We're all a bunch of armchair GMs over here just thinking
Yeah.
we can say whatever we want and they're going to just do whatever we say and that it's going to work out. But it's just not life.
So, what do you want to do moving forward with this? Do you have plans to expand, move into other leagues?
Right now, I want to just focus on the USHL. Well, as long as I'm video scouting, because of obviously the times we have right now, I can't go into rinks and
Yeah.
actually scout. So right now, I'm just trying to view as many players as I can that are eligible for the next upcoming draft in the USHL. And there's a lot of players upcoming. So right now, I just want to see every single person that I can and just maximize as many views as I can on each player. But so yeah, right now I'm focusing on video scouting. But when those rinks do open up, I will be planning on going to OHL games, obviously, because they're more local and won't be going into the States. So that's my plan. Once those open up, that's going to be very exciting to actually have that different type of perspective because video scouting versus live views is a very different thing. Where video scouting, I can sit back, I can just chill at home and kind of just watch these players at the pace I want to.
Right.
I can stop the play, I can rewind, I can slow it down. There's a lot of things I can do with video scouting that I can't do at a live game, but I think the things you can do at a live game are almost more impactful just because you're seeing them when the camera's not on them, per se. So you're seeing every single moment there on the ice, on the bench, during warm-ups even. Like you get to really zone in and almost learn a lot more about that player. So I'm excited to learn a lot more about that too. And yeah, just looking forward to the process and learning everything each day. I know it's a never ending thing. So yeah, just excited.
All right. Now, speaking of rinks reopening, would you ever consider like going to NHL games if they do allow fans? I know this season they're doing things a little bit differently than they did with the shortened season last year. What do you think about like the different divisions, the reduced number of games, and how like there's going to be fans allowed in some areas like in Texas and Florida, but maybe in arenas in Canada, for example, there might not be fans allowed.
Yeah, I'm personally not going to be going to games. I'm going to be stuck here at home. I
Yeah.
can do whatever there, but I don't know. Like I get they need to make their money. They need fans to be there to make a good amount of money. They can't just rely on other things. So I know there's a lot of push because of the financials, but me personally, I won't be going to any games. Yeah.
Do you think that it's a good idea? Like, do you think they could pull it off safely, having these fans in the stadiums? I mean, there's been some mixed success between different sports leagues, like the NBA, they had their bubble strategy, right? And
Right.
that seemed to work all right for them. But I guess a big concern that a lot of people have is the longer players have to stay away from their families, it could be more and more negatively impactful on them and their morale.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing is the families like that's got to be tough. Like at the end of the day, they're people and they can't just
Yeah,
they can't just play sports every day. So
yeah,
I
they
get
have
it.
lives too,
Yeah,
like outside.
exactly. I get they're making millions and stuff, but honestly, like me personally, I'm gonna take life over millions if that means I had to give up like seeing my family every day. So I don't know. Like I get it. I think it can be done safely if they all do it properly, which is the thing that kind of is the question mark. I don't know if everyone will do it properly. I know there's been some hiccups in the leagues, but at the same time, they went smoothly with their leagues and they just postpone the games and kind of keep it going. And I know some at some point some teams are playing a lot more games than others, so I know that can be a little messy, but I think it can go smoothly, and I hope it does because as much as anyone else, I love watching sports, especially during these times when not much is going on. So
Good to
yeah,
have.
sorry.
Well, it's good to have something to take your mind off of, all the news, and there's not a lot of good news to go around every day, really.
Of course, yeah, no, I agree.
Do you think sports like hockey kind of are at a disadvantage compared to sports that are more outdoor oriented?
Yeah, you could say that just because, yeah, the aspect of them being inside compared to outside, I know you can't really like you're confined into the space once you're inside, where outside you can kind of distance people a lot more, and I I would assume that the transmission is a lot more like not as bad outside. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of makes sense.
definitely. I mean, even the CDC and the World Health Organization, they both agree that being outside, there's less chance of transmission, especially if you're socially distanced, or, they even encourage wearing masks within 6 feet if you can. I mean, you don't see that when they're physically exerting themselves on the field because it's not necessarily practical, like, say, football, for example. It
Yeah,
might be too difficult to breathe if you're having to, sprint as fast and hard as you can while wearing something that's restricting your breathing slightly. I could see the argument there. It's interesting to see how different leagues have implemented slightly different strategies and had different levels of success. Like the NFL hasn't done too bad of a job really either. But again, they're outdoors mostly. There's some indoor stadiums, but being outdoors at all definitely makes it a lot easier to implement effective measures, I think.
yeah, no, I completely agree, man.
Now, like it's difficult for a lot of amateur athletes right now to get out and practice and participate in sports. Do you think like maybe there's going to be I guess, a generation of athletes that are maybe less skilled than the current generation just because of a lack of opportunities for training?
I mean, it's very possible. For like I know personally, I'm paying a lot more attention to the hockey than other sports, but a lot of players they're looking for ice time and they're not getting it because every single person is looking for it. So it's limited. Everyone's trying to go to Europe and playing in their leagues, but there's even leagues over there that are shutting down. And
Pretty strict.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's going to be tough for these kids. I know the OHL was trying to start up, and they were saying they were fighting a little thing about no body checking, and you can't play hockey without body checking,
Changes the
especially
whole game.
one thing for that. Yeah, it loses the whole point of the game, and it's not the same game. And for the other part, those kids are going that whole season. They're going to be focusing on playing, knowing that they're not going to get hit. So when they move on and stuff, they're going to have that thought still in their head, and they're going to most likely play with their head down a lot more because they're not expecting someone to come and clap them. So I mean, like it's going to change their whole game, and it's just it's just not the same game. So
Yeah.
I just don't think I think they need to figure out a certain way to play the same game, yet try to find everyone some ice time, which sadly isn't there for a lot of kids.
Yeah, um, I think that even in the professional level, what we're seeing too is a lot of players are getting injured more easily because they haven't had as much ability to train as like they normally would be able to.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people, all they could do was specifically do weight training and stuff like that indoors and not actually be in practices and in-game mode and stuff like that. So yeah, their bodies are taking a toll on all this time away from the game and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just not good for everyone, you know? So I'm just hoping everything kind of slowly gets back to normal, but we have to do everything safely. So we'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. And do you think that the Olympics should move forward? I've heard that there was one report, I'm not sure from where exactly, but there was some rumors of a cancellation possibly coming. But officially, as it stands right now, the Japanese government still says that the Olympics are going to go on as planned this year. I don't know if it's going to be a good idea because, well, there's some new strains that are coming out, like out of South Africa, Brazil. The UK one is getting a lot of attention because people are saying it might be deadlier. So, what do you think about having the Olympics in a time like this?
Yeah, it's probably not the best idea. I
Yeah.
mean, like bringing countries all together during a pandemic just it just doesn't sound good.
What
And
if they were to quarantine people like for a couple of weeks, like a hotel or something?
yeah, like I mean they can try. I just don't see the point.
It's a
Like
lot of people to take care of.
yeah, that's one thing is the amount of number of people that you're gonna have to treat and take care of during that time and like do they do it the same amount of time? Do they make it shorter? Do they keep all of the events in there? Like
Should the
that,
money be going towards that in the first place right now? I mean, a lot of people, I think in Japan, maybe are thinking that this money should instead be going towards measures that can help fight the pandemic or
yeah,
support people that are affected by it.
yeah. No, you would think that they
Yeah.
would try to do that. So I don't know. That's an iffy one about the Olympics. Just because like I get the athletes, they want to showcase their talents and everything like that. It's just can they do it safely? I don't know.
It's hard to say. I like a lot of them probably definitely want to be there, but at the same time, those same people very well could also feel a little worried about potentially getting sick or getting somebody else sick.
Hmm.
There's a lot of unknowns for sure. Like it's an unprecedented thing. Like the only other times that the Olympics have been canceled were during war times. So it would be pretty unprecedented for it to be canceled because of a pandemic. Like I'm not sure what happened during the Spanish flu pandemic actually with the Olympics. I'd have to look into that at some point. That's now that I'm thinking about it, that'd be interesting. 'Cause like I think the only reason from what I read that they were canceled before was because of war.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure to be honest. You'd have to check that out.
Yeah. Now speaking of the Olympics, athletes over the course of time they've gotten a lot better. So like I guess we could say a few of the reasons why is because the equipment has improved, the training methods have improved. There's more like sports science. It's become more advanced, more technical. How do you think things could advance further in the future in regards to that? What do you think about the disadvantages and advantages of continuing along that path of just pushing the boundaries of human ability?
Yeah, I mean, like there's definitely good sides and bad sides to it. We're seeing some of the best athletes in the world today, what they're capable of doing. They're literally pushing themselves to the absolute limits and seeing what the body can actually do. It's insane. um, and then, yeah, the negative side of it is people are trying to be their best, and that sometimes comes with substance abuse.
Right.
And I mean, like you have to be safe when it comes to doing all these things, and like there's life-term effects to these things, and I think you just have to be smart. You have to listen to the professionals and what they're saying, how to treat your body and things like that. There's just so many things out there that people are almost trying and not knowing exactly what the result's going to be. Um, so yeah, no, it's good that we're seeing players go to their maximum abilities, but I think we have to stay realistic and not make ourselves not human anymore and
Yeah.
um, just have
You
fake
don't
abilities almost.
you don't think they should just let people go crazy? Just have a league where everybody's all juiced up?
I mean, if you want to have your own league where you have juiced up baseball players and just every single game there's like 20 home runs,
Yeah.
go for it. Put her on ESPN and let it
Well,
fly.
the pitcher would be juiced up too, so maybe nobody would even be able to hit a ball. I don't
Hey,
know.
that's fair. Maybe someone needs to hop on that. Maybe Vince McMahon or something.
I don't know, like an XFL version of baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, so like going off of what you said about the substance abuse, like one of the scary things is like you can look at somebody like Lance Armstrong, for example. He was tested so many times, and I don't think they ever actually proved that he was on drugs through that. I think like how the whole story broke was because he ended up like confessing to it eventually through pressure, if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of puts into perspective, like I think a lot of other people who were doing the Tour de France at the time too were also, using performance enhancing drugs. So it really makes it, I guess, scary to think like, okay, well, what are we actually watching in terms of professional sports? Like, is this all just kind of rigged?
Yeah,
It definitely changes the perspective of it.
yeah, it makes you question. It's like, what am I actually watching? Is that can I actually do this, or do I have to take something to actually do what they're doing? So I don't know. It's fake, so you don't know until that news comes out. So it's all speculation, I guess, until you
Some
get that.
sports are pretty notorious for juicing, for sure.
Yeah,
Like cycling, I think, is one of them. I think I've heard of something about wrestling being another one. I know, like, there's certain countries too, like Russia, they recently had a huge doping scandal.
yeah,
I mentioned the movie Icarus recently to you that I saw not too long ago.
right.
Absolutely mind-blowing what they uncovered with that. And it was kind of accidental too. Like, that wasn't really the initial purpose of the movie. The guy did a cycling race, like an amateur cycling race. He did it one year completely clean, like just training normally. And
Mhm.
then the second year, he wanted to do it all juiced up as like heavy as he could go and try to beat the testing. And along that journey, he got connected with this guy who was like the head person at the anti-doping laboratory in Russia, who was like the head guy for the Sochi Olympics. And he ended up accidentally uncovering this whole scandal, and he ended up having to help this guy flee the country.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that wasn't even what he was setting out to do, which is pretty crazy that he just stumbled on this massive story.
Yeah, that's I actually have to still check that out, so I definitely will, but that's nuts.
It was an incredible, incredible movie. So we got the Super Bowl coming up about a week from now. Let's talk a little bit about that. But before we do that, I want to just touch on the Matthew Stafford trade
Hmm.
that just came out last night. So what do you think about that? We've got Matthew Stafford from the Lions, who I think we said he's 32, right?
Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
So I mean, you look at a guy like Tom Brady who's 43. I mean, if he can have that kind of longevity with his career, maybe that's a pretty good deal. But you never know, right? I mean, he has been playing for the Detroit Lions for a while, and they have a notorious reputation for wearing down really great players. So, I mean, what they got in exchange for Matt Stafford, they got Jared Goff, they got the 2021 third round pick from the Rams, as well as the 2022 and 2023 first round picks. So, what do you think that the Lions maybe got the better end of the deal here? Or do you think it was a fair trade?
I mean, time will tell with this trade. I think as I look at this from both sides, I think both sides did do well. They got what they needed. For the Lions, Matthew Stafford wanted out, so they
Yeah,
kind of knew they had to get rid of him. They needed someone to replace him. They got that quarterback that is capable of winning games with Jared Goff. He's very capable. We've seen him do it when he went to the Super Bowl. Um, that Rams team is really good, and Goff had an off year, so Matthew Stafford's also a MVP caliber type quarterback where he can go off. And I sorry Detroit Lions fans, but he just wasn't going to do that there. And with the Rams team, I think this team has a very good chance to win that Super Bowl. Definitely with that defense, and now with Matthew Stafford in that quarterback role. And then for the Lions getting Goff, who is capable, like I said, younger. I think he's 26, so he's a
yeah.
bit younger. Plus, you get two first round picks and a third. So like those two first round picks can be very, very big pieces in your future. Where I think the Lions aren't a team that are kind of contending right now. So I think it's fine
I
to
would agree.
rebuild. So I I think it works out for both teams. I think if the LA Rams go on and win a Super Bowl, hell yeah, it was worth it. So I think yeah, if it doesn't work out for both teams, I don't know who it would not work out for. Probably the Rams if they don't win the Super Bowl because they just gave up a lot of their future. Um,
It'll be more immediate for the Rams finding out. Like with the Lions, we'll kind of have to wait until we see how those draft picks pan out. In particular, like we can tell a little bit by how Jared Goff plays with the Lions. Like if he does really well, then obviously, that's an immediate payoff. But if he does poorly, then we'll still have to kind of wait and see what comes of the draft picks to really tell for sure if it was a good trade or not for them. But yeah, in regards to the Rams, seeing as they're just getting Stafford, we would be able to tell more right away based on how he plays next season.
yeah, definitely. Like the Lions don't need Goff to be that guy right now. They don't. They're just not in that position right now. Sorry, but yeah, I just feel like them having those two first round picks is huge, and that's the thing that you're gonna have to wait for. See who those guys are. See where those positions are. Like I don't know where those picks are gonna be. Imagine the Rams just they flop, and they're a bottom team. Like I don't think that's happening, but it's possible. So that those picks could be very, very big, impactful parts of that deal. So yeah, we'll see.
I'm very curious to see how that pans out.
Me too.
So moving on to the Super Bowl, they're expecting to have 22,000 fans in the stadium, but they're going to be supplying an N95 mask to each fan. Now, Dr. Anthony Fauci, he has publicly said that he's comfortable with the crowd size as long as there's adequate social distancing and people are wearing masks. Do you agree? I mean, it is going to be outdoors, so that obviously is a factor, and he mentioned that as well.
Hmm.
But do you think the NFL, with the way they've been doing things up to this point throughout the season, I think they've had less than 300 players throughout the whole season test positive. I mean, they kind of knew that there were going to be cases, so it was more so about managing them and preventing them from fully having to cancel games, which they didn't have to do. They postponed a few games, obviously, because there was some issues a couple of times with certain teams, but they never actually had to full on cancel any games. So I was actually pretty impressed. I think a lot of people, myself included, were a bit skeptical before the season got rolling if they were going to be able to do it.
Hmm.
But coming now to the Super Bowl, I think 22,000 fans. I mean, if they can do this without like a lot of people getting sick, I mean that's very impressive, and it definitely makes the future of professional sports look more promising if they can pull it off.
Yeah, definitely. That we're gonna really. This is a big test, and I mean it's a risky test. That's a lot of people all in one area. Like you said, it is outdoors, so that's what makes it almost possible. Like if that was inside, sorry, you can't do that. You got to split that a little bit, maybe to 10,000, maybe 15.
Depends on the capacity, right? How
Yeah,
much?
exactly. The room in the arena and such. But yeah, like it's a risky test. Like we don't know. Are they testing people before they go? Are they asking people
Yeah,
about anything?
can't quite remember if they're testing. I'm not 100% sure about that. I know that they're giving everybody masks and they're only selling tickets in like kind of pods of seats. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I think groups of six up to. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure, but I mean keep in mind it is in Florida too, and they're kind of one of the more relaxed states in terms of COVID restrictions.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what will happen, and I'm not sure if they are doing any sort of temperature checks or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, like this is gonna be it's gonna be great because it's the Super Bowl and everything like that. And yeah, I guess they have to sell tickets and make their money. But yeah, I guess once we see after the Super Bowl, see what the results are, this could be huge. This could push sports to be played more, and
Yeah.
this could start up different leagues and stuff.
Oh,
So I think we're just gonna have to wait and see the results.
I know they're testing the players and the staff. They're testing them regularly, making sure that they're following the certain protocols they have in place. I'm not sure exactly what they are and aren't allowed to do, but I would just imagine it's mostly just common sense stuff, like not going out to different places if they don't have to, not gathering with different people.
Yeah,
Mostly just staying where they like staying home, I guess would be the best way to put it, except for essential stuff.
right.
So moving on to the actual game itself, it's going to be the first time in NFL history that a home team, or sorry, that a team was hosting the Super Bowl at their home stadium.
Yeah,
So,
that'll be big.
do you think that's going to give much of an advantage for the Buccaneers? Or do you think it'll still kind of be like a mixed bag of people being the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think it's going to be pretty split just because of the Chiefs and their, like, I'm sure there's a lot of bandwagon fans now hopping on that. So they're one of the biggest popular teams right now. So I feel like it will be split. And the Bucks, before Tom Brady, we're not a popular team. So I think it's going to be pretty split. Like I imagine there's going to be all sorts of fans there, non-Buccaneers and Chief fans. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd assume there's going to be majority of or a split decision. So yeah,
Well, there's
I don't.
probably gonna be people there that aren't fans of either team. They just want to go for the spectacle of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Super Bowl. Non-sports fans, they watch the Super Bowl because it's the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's just one of those things that everyone kind of tunes into.
Oh yeah, I mean normally there's not even the opportunity for the home team to go to their stadium for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to the game. I know it's going to be a good one with the kind of the GOAT and the future GOAT.
You think he's the greatest of all time? No
Uh,
question.
like I, I
Hard to
think
argue,
so.
right?
I think so. Like I know Breeze and his stats. You can argue, but with the Super Bowls, with the titles, like I don't know how you argue that and win that argument. It's crazy what Brady's done. Like what are some of the stats? Like
So yeah,
18% of Super Bowls or something?
right. Out of 21 seasons that he's played in the NFL, he has appeared in now 10 Super Bowls. This will be his 10th, with 6 wins, 4 MVPs, and that means that he's appeared in 48% of the Super Bowls since he's been in the league. And out of the all-time Super Bowls in the NFL, it is 18%.
Like come on. Like that's nuts. That's crazy to
He's
have that
definitely
stat.
left a pretty significant mark on the league.
Yeah, no doubt. And like he could go next year. Like honestly, like look at that division. If Breeze leaves, like Brady's probably gonna be that number one spot. The Bucks, I mean, sorry, are probably getting that number one spot. Brady's got another chance at a home game in the playoffs.
How
It could
many
happen
years
again.
has left?
Yeah, you really don't know with that guy. Some of the greatest, they go until they want to stop. So
He's 43 now. I mean, I don't know. What's the oldest age that a quarterback has ever started? Do you know?
I don't know. Maybe I don't even want to guess and look stupid.
Probably Brady, honestly. I bet you I wouldn't be surprised if it is him.
Yeah,
I
maybe
really
Brady. What was There was a couple older guys. Like what was Brett Favre? Brett Favre, he
he
was pretty old.
definitely I think he was over 40 before he retired too.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. So
definitely up there. So they'd be close.
and then
And after
Peyton Manning as well.
Peyton Manning, he was another quarterback who lasted it for a long time, had a very long career. Um, but moving on to Patrick Mahomes, he's now the youngest quarterback to have started in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, he's special. That's the only word for him. Is like I don't think anyone expected that. Obviously, especially the Bears take, taking their quarterback who is not doing the best right now. They could have had their shot at Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. They took Trubisky. So um, I mean, he's insane with his arm. His arm power is just ridiculous. I know his dad was a baseball player, and himself, he played his baseball years as well. I'm sure that has to do with it, but just an amazing athlete. The things he does and the lanes he sees, it's nuts. The no look passes and things like that. It's it's pretty cool to watch.
And he's a lot more mobile than Brady too. Like, do you think his mobility might, in a sense, shorten his career because it puts him at a greater risk for getting injured or taking more hits?
That's a fair point. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like your arm is gonna stay there longer than your legs, a lot longer. You can
Yeah.
see that with Brady. Um, Even Rodgers, he still can run, but like his arm is ridiculous still.
Oh yeah.
And that's what keeps you in the game is your arm. So I mean, if he can figure out a way to stay in the pocket and avoid being as mobile. I mean, like it doesn't make you as effective when you're not that mobile anymore. But yeah, I think he can still keep it up, especially with the training and things that are available nowadays. I think that will help. But no, I see what you're saying with the him being a mobile quarterback. It may shorten his years a bit.
I think you've seen that with some other quarterbacks, for example, Robert Griffin III. There's so much talk about him being one of the bright future quarterbacks, and he did show some flashes of really amazing potential.
Hmm.
But I think with his mobility and his very risky play style, he kind of really took a toll on his body, like very quickly. Like you see that with other positions like running backs, for example. It's very rare that you see running backs have extremely long careers because they're constantly getting hit, tackled.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen it with a bunch of different guys, even linebackers like Luke Kuechly, one of the best linebackers in our generation that we've seen, retires at what, age 27, I think it was,
I think he was, I want to say 29. I don't know. I'm not
something like
100%.
that. Like, I don't know. I feel like he had a lot of game left in him, and even like just different positions. They once you get hit or do the hitting, it's gonna affect you.
The picture's all messed up for some reason there. I'm not sure what's going on.
My blurry.
Yeah, can you see it?
No, no, I look
Oh, really?
fine.
Okay. I think it's just
Oh,
on my end. Yeah, we're trying a new format here. First interview over Skype. I think it's not going too bad. I was a little worried about how it would go, but I definitely prefer the in-person interviews, but it's just not possible right now, obviously,
yeah,
with the restrictions.
yeah.
What's your prediction for the Super Bowl?
Uh, I think I got the Chiefs winning this one. Just that offense. I don't know if the Bucks defense has surprised me. I didn't think they were going to be that good. But I just think the Chiefs offense is that good that it's just going to take them over the edge. And a quick start from Mahomes is game over for them, I think, especially if Brady starts throwing those picks. That's what's gonna kind of come down to the game is the turnovers. If he can keep that ball out of that defense's hands and keep it in his own, I think he'll be okay. But that's where he'll kind of lose it for me.
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers defense really saved them against Green Bay because Brady did throw 3 interceptions that game.
Yeah,
A lot of turnovers, but they managed to keep Green Bay from scoring too many points.
yeah, I know Green Bay had a really good team this year too, and they challenged them. Like it was a good game, but just just wasn't the year. And now we're hearing all this talk about Rodgers leaving, and my
Yeah, I'm
God,
not looking forward to that.
yeah, you being a Packers fan, I mean, that's got to be tough.
Well, I mean, I don't know much about the quarterback that they just recently drafted. I mean, I was always I remember being very skeptical of Aaron Rodgers at first when they first transitioned to him from Favre.
Yeah.
But then obviously once he won the Super Bowl, there's no question that this is their guy.
Yeah, you felt a little more comfortable after that, eh?
Yeah, and then, more and more he kept proving himself as a very precise, probably one of the most precise quarterbacks in history. Like this guy barely throws any interceptions. Like
Yeah.
if you look at his regular season stats, I don't know how many he had, but I think it was I want to say like just maybe 3 or 4 or something really insanely low for the whole
Yeah.
season.
He did they announce the MVP yet? Because if
Not
not,
yet.
I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
don't
sure
think
he's in the running.
he is in the running. Yeah,
Yeah, like when you're at that age and you can still be that elite, it's it's, it's remarkable. Like
he really knows the game.
that's what really shows is his knowledge of the game and his IQ. It really comes out and you can see it in full force.
Yeah, it's a shame that he didn't make it to the Super Bowl. I would have loved to see him square off against Mahomes, but I knew either way it's going to be an insane matchup. Like whether you got the Bills versus whoever, or whether you got the Packers versus whoever. But the way it turned out with the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, Brady versus Mahomes, it's kind of like, the greatest of all time, like you said, versus somebody who potentially could challenge that and at some point in the future in his career. And I think this game is going to have a big part in that potential storyline. Like if Mahomes can pull off a win against Tom Brady here, and he can continue with that sort of consistency, like continue reaching the Super Bowl the way that he has been so far. I mean, who knows what kind of records he could set if he continues to do what he's doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, like it's very possible. What he's doing right now is probably what Brady was doing when he first started, and no one really expected that. So, like
He was
everything's
undrafted,
possible.
wasn't he?
Sorry that? Sorry.
Wasn't Brady undrafted?
He was either undrafted or just drafted very, very late.
One of
I
the
know
two,
that
yeah.
Michigan. So it just anything can happen with Mahomes. I mean, like especially like we mentioned before, like athletes are at their top ability right now. So we're gonna see something special in these next few years, I think. So there's a lot of young quarterbacks coming up too. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun.
I got the Chiefs too in the Super Bowl, I think, but I think it's going to be close. I think maybe going to see the Chiefs winning it by, I'll say 4 points, something like that. I'll take 4 points.
Yeah. What do you here? Let's make predictions. What do you think final score?
Final score? Mm, 31 to 27. Has 27 realistic to get? Is that a realistic
Yeah,
score?
that's the thing I got to do. I got to do the math, do like a bunch of got to throw some field goals in there.
Yeah,
Maybe
I mean, what are the odds there's no field goals?
there could be a safety. It's not rare, but it's possible.
I remember one year we were having like a little pool. It was, I believe, the Ravens and 49ers. And
Mhm.
I was going to win the pool because we were trying to guess like the final score, something like the final digit of the final score, and I had it. I had it. But then they did the safety to kill the clock or something like that. So somebody else ended up winning it. I was just
Oh,
absolutely furious.
yeah, like come on, just play the game.
Yeah, they would have had it anyways, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I lost some money that night.
yeah, that sucks. Here, yeah, I'll say here we'll go. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 35 for the Chiefs, 24 for the Bucks.
Okay, a little bit of a margin there, huh?
Yeah, a little bit, little bit.
Two possession game.
Yes, sir.
See what happens. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I think it's going to come down to the wire. I
Oh,
think.
definitely. It's going to be a close game no matter what.
Well, anyways, I want to thank you for coming on, talking about what you're doing, having some conversation about sports. I know we're both excited to see what's going to happen in the future of sports. There was a little short period where there wasn't much going on, but things are continually, slowly getting back to kind of where they were a little bit, at least in the sports world. So,
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate this. I know me getting all this started and it's all exciting for me, so kind of just taking it all in day by day and seeing what happens with it. And yeah, like you said, I'm glad sports are back and just hope everything goes smoothly and we can kind of get back to some sort of normal at least.
so again, remind people where they can find your work.
Yeah, so you can click on the little browser and you can go on to I guess it's www.nhlentrydraft.com. And then you can go under team, go under scouts, and then you'll find my profile there. It has all my reports listed there. And then you can find me at Twitter on at Dylan underscore Krill. I post a lot on there, and you can kind of keep up with me on there and see what I'm up to. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right, thanks again for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening. So best of luck to you moving forward
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
anytime.